When it comes to home improvement projects, the most common ones are, you guessed it, the kitchen and bathrooms. They're also expensive. If you gut the place and build something new, expect to pay more than $25,000 for even a modest-sized kitchen with standard materials and appliances. The average bathroom redo costs $15,000 and up. But if the layout of your kitchen or bath works for you, and its cabinets and other features are in decent shape, you might be able to save a bathtub full of cash with what's called a light remodel. I'm Herb Weisbaum, the Consumer Man, a contributing editor at checkbook.org.
Welcome to Consumerpedia at checkbook.org. We're the nonprofit that helps consumers select services, avoid trouble, and save money. Because we don't accept any advertising or take money from any business we recommend, you can rely on checkbook.org to be completely independent and objective. Now, here's the host of Consumerpedia, America's consumer expert, the Consumer Man, Herb Weisbaum.
In this episode, how to decide if light remodeling is the way to go. The savings to your wallet and the environment by going this route and keeping most of what you have. Plus some specific ideas about ways you can freshen up the kitchen and bathrooms. Here to talk about all that, Checkbook's content editor, Jen Barger.
Hi, how are you today?
Very well, and in the mood to do a little remodeling. So let's make sure we know what light remodel means.
Well, I think light remodeling, it's a bit more, think of it as Botox and a peel, not a complete and total facelift.
Okay.
It means that if you're remodeling your kitchen or bathroom, a complete remodel means you're tearing out tile, you're tearing out cabinets, you're making a big mess, and you're spending a lot of money. Whereas a light remodel, well, it can be everything from literally changing a light bulb to painting your cabinets to maybe replacing a bathtub.
So you're freshening up the room.
Yeah, it's freshening up. It generally means you're not moving a wall. You might be replacing tile, but instead of replacing tile and your fridge and your cabinets, you're just replacing tile.
So some of these projects are obviously ones that the homeowner can do on your own, or you need to hire someone in some cases.
Yeah, I think what we always say at Checkbook is if you're getting into particularly electrical work or something like I had my countertops replaced in my old house, and I wouldn't have done that myself. There are things that are best left to the pros, electricity especially.
Well, for me, it's painting because I'm tired of the drips and the spills, so I hire a painter. So I check the ratings with Checkbook and hire the best person, and then I don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of a personal thing. Like if you love tiling, my father-in-law used to love to tile, so we did what I would call a light remodel on a powder room in our old house, and he did the tiling. Now, would I do the tiling in my new house? No, never.
And DIY versus a contractor is also based on your budget because doing it yourself is a lot cheaper if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I think, and that is just I'm not saying you can't watch a YouTube video and figure out how to tile, but sort of know your strengths. If you need a contractor, if you need that electrician, then Checkbook has great comparison ratings on quality and price. So I think decide what your strengths are and go forth.
Well, if you live in the greater Seattle area and you need to do some light remodeling and you want a designer to make suggestions and you belong to the homeowners club here as I do, you might find yourself hiring Corinne Winsweiler at Winsweiler Design.
Hi, Herb. How are you?
Fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us.
You bet.
So why do people hire you to do light remodeling? What are they trying to do?
Basically, they're just trying to get a new look to their space. Maybe they feel like it's just sort of worn and tired and they don't necessarily want to move. They like their home and they just want, a new look, a refresh.
Sometimes they do it because it's much cheaper to do it this way?
Yes, oftentimes that is a motivator.
So if you're going to do this, you have to be happy with the space you have because in most cases, you're not changing the space, right? You're just changing the look?
Correct. You want to be happy with, the overall space. So we're not talking about removing walls or making any major changes. We're just trying to improve on things so that you're kind of giving like another life to the space and changing the way you feel about it, interact with it sometimes, like just even changing around your furniture can go a long way.
So what kind of things might you suggest to someone who comes to you and says, hi, I want to freshen up the bathroom. I want to freshen up the kitchen. What kind of things you're looking at?
Well, there's a number of things, and it depends on, of course, how much money you want to put into it. So for a bathroom, You could do things such as change the lighting. You could change the vanity, assuming you don't have to make any major changes to like the water connection. But if you could just swap out the vanity, change the color of the paint in there. Also, changing towels and the color of the towels could go a long way to improving the space or giving you a change.
So it sounds like some of this you could do on your own and some of this you might need a contractor?
Yeah, it just depends. Like in a kitchen, depending on what you want to do, if you're just looking for a change and you're pretty happy with, like, let's say the layout, you could get away with just possibly painting the cabinetry to give you a different look, and also the walls, changing the wall color, even adding a backsplash. A lot of people don't have a backsplash, and that's a way to bring in some other colors, textures, finishing off a space. Also handles on the kitchen doors too, like the cabinet doors, that can give a totally different look.
So who tends to do this? Is this older folks who are in a house and just want to keep it going a little longer? Is it younger folks or first-time home buyers who put all the money into buying the house and don't have a lot of money to do remodeling?
There's so many different clients that I see. So for instance, it could be someone that just bought a house and they have a lot of things that they want to change, but they kind of have to pace themselves. And so they've got to sort of be at peace with the way things are and they want to improve it. That's one example. Another would be someone that's been in their home for, 20, 30 years, and maybe they did a major renovation when they first moved in or within the first 10 years, but now things are looking a little tired and they just want to make a few updates, but they don't want to go through a whole renovation. And then some people just, are working from home more or spending more time at home and they're tired of being in the space or looking at the same walls and they need some change. So I would say those are kind of the three types.
Clearly, price is one consideration here, a lot less expensive than gutting the whole place, but there's also the environmental impact.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of times homeowners, they don't want to create added waste. For instance, if their kitchen works for them, if they can function in it, if it provides enough storage and they're overall happy with it, and if the cabinets are in good condition, they might opt to repaint them or paint them if maybe they were a wood stain and perhaps it's looking worn and it's, not what they want anymore. They might choose to paint it rather than buying all new cabinets, especially if they like their layout. For the most part, it really doesn't make sense if the cabinets are in good condition.
A whole lot less time involved and a whole lot less mess.
Yes, absolutely.
Sounds like you enjoy doing this.
I do. I love it.
Is there one tip you have to share with people if they're thinking about doing this kind of thing?
Yes. If you're planning on doing one space, whatever it is, don't just pick one thing and then pick another thing and then go from there. Like, you need to really have a plan in mind for it to be successful. I know a lot of times people will say, well, I just want to pick out the paint color, but how do you know what the paint color is going to be if you don't know what some of the other changes are going to be? So you kind of have to have a larger view and sort of zoom out a little bit. And that's where I come in to help with that.
Corinne Winsweiler is owner of Winsweiler Design in Seattle. So nice talking to you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Want ratings for general contractors, electricians, plumbers, cabinet installers, or a good appliance store in your area? Checkbook has you covered if you live in one of these metro areas: Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, Seattle, San Francisco, Minneapolis-St. Paul, and Washington, D.C. If you live in or around one of these 7 cities and haven't joined Checkbook yet, get a free 30-day subscription to all of our ratings by going to checkbook.org/consumerpedia.
Back now with Checkbook's content editor, Jen Barger. Redoing the kitchen and the bathroom are the most common home remodeling projects, two places we spend a lot of our quality time each day, which explains why in your Checkbook story you looked at some of the light remodeling projects that can freshen up these two rooms. Let's start with the kitchen. One of the bigger projects will be refacing the cabinets, and for that we're talking many thousands of dollars. How's that work?
So that works. And again, I keep throwing my kitchen in my old house, and they basically come out and they make a new skin for your cabinets. It's fascinating. It's like a very thin kind of laminate that they glue on, and they usually replace the doors. So we went from a golden oak 1980s kitchen to a very sharp looking kind of white shaker cabinets. And it takes just a couple of days. I mean, and I think anybody who's been through a real kitchen remodel as opposed to having their cabinets refaced, it's just shocking how quick it is. They kind of come in, they do the demo that they have to do, which is generally taking out the countertops, and then they recover those cabinets, get the new countertops in, and bang, you have a new kitchen. I mean, it was days as opposed to months, which is what it takes for a longer remodel.
Are there companies that specialize in this kind of work?
There definitely are. And you can look at our ratings, and different companies do them. Most kitchen companies will have some branch that does this. Sometimes big box stores like Home Depot or Lowe's will generally be able to hook you up with someone who can do that.
If you're going to do this, you have to make sure the cabinets are in good shape because you're going to be putting some more money into them.
You do. And generally, there's a kind of rule of thumb that most kitchen cabinets have maybe a 20 or 30-year lifespan. And it kind of depends on the quality of them to begin with. So if you have, a 1950s or 60s kitchen cabinets that are still lingering in your house, you probably, unless they're terrific old wood ones, it's time to replace them, not reface them.
So a more economical way to go is to repaint those cabinets.
Yeah, and that's really popular. You see that all the time online, often in bright colors. Blue is very popular now. And what happens with that, as long as the cabinets are good quality to begin with, generally hardwood or at least a really good composite, it's like if you're refinishing a piece of furniture. You want to get it down, get the surface as smooth and as free of the old paint or varnish as possible. And then you either paint them by hand, or the preferable way to get a smoother, more long-lasting finish is to use a sprayer, which is something that you can DIY, but it's also something that you can have a painting contractor or general contractor do, and that just gives you a smoother, more adherent surface.
So remodeling projects, big and small, especially kitchen remodeling projects, often involve new lighting. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, lighting is one of my favorite ways to just completely update a look for very little money. It's almost as dramatic as just how, you paint a room a bright color. It looks like a completely different room than if it's white. And with lights, it's the same thing. You can bring a kitchen or bathroom forward 10, 20 years or take it back. You can, put a retro fixture in. So I just think it's a really easy way. And while we tell people not to mess about with your own electricity, if you already have, if you're just switching something out, then that's often an easier job, or it's an easy job for an electrician. So, you can replace something for $50. You could spend $50 or you could spend $500. It just depends kind of on your taste in a light fixture.
Something I was able to do, being a non-electrician and all thumbs, is you take those light strips and hide them a couple of places, you just plug them into the wall, and then you have some accent lighting that way.
That's true. And that's very important because that's task lighting, and it's so you don't cut your finger off if you're chopping a carrot.
Right. And Checkbook has ratings on doctors too, somewhere on the website.
Yeah, we do. So
I know. Okay, a few more things you can do. Replace the countertops, which can run a significant amount of money.
It can, but there are such a range of materials now. You can do everything from butcher block is one of the cheapest materials, and it's also very fashionable and eco-friendly. And laminates look a lot better now than they used to. It's not all kind of your mom's pink 1980s Corian. So I think I have a laminate in my basement kitchen from IKEA, and it looks like marble. And it was very inexpensive. So I think there's a real range. And you can also, even if you want to do it with granite or another more expensive material, sometimes if you have a smaller project, you can find them at remnant places. Replacing your countertops doesn't have to be nightmarishly expensive.
And I would suggest for anyone thinking about replacing it, there are a lot of different materials. Some of them scratch or stain really easily. Consumer Reports rates these all the time. Go to Consumer Reports website and check out the different ones, because some of these things are really, they look like stone, but they really don't stand up to things the way other materials do.
Yeah. And I think granite is, granite goes in and out of style, and there are all of these other products, but it's surprising how well it weathers. It's surprising how little it stains. I've had granite in my kitchen for 13 or 14 years, and it's always like, wow, it doesn't seem to age.
A nice touch that won't break the bank is a tile backslash.
Yeah, and that's a very common thing, either to switch out, or sometimes, many kitchens don't come with tile in them, or they come with maybe a low tile backsplash, and you can switch that out. I mean, for years and years, the popular thing to switch out for was subway tiles, but now we're seeing more of a thing called Zelig tiles, and those are a kind of Moroccan tile, and they're a little bit less uniform than a subway tile. But tile is easy, and even if you're not doing it yourself, it's a relatively inexpensive thing to work with a contractor or a tiler on, either to put it up or to take it back down. And many of the contemporary kitchens we're seeing now, instead of it being tile, it's more of a tile slab, if that makes sense, where it's just a single piece that's cut to fit. And that's also a really nice update and not terribly difficult or expensive to put into a space.
And then there are those old kitchen appliances. You can replace them or reface them, something I didn't even know about until I read your story. Obviously, replacing is the most expensive way to go, and it's a long-term decision since a reliable appliance should last you 10 to 12 years.
Well, and refacing, first of all, there are these little skins that you can put on them, and that's kind of the real bargain basement way to do it, but you can technically change the color of your fridge or dishwasher. But also, one of the things that's popular in kitchen remodeling the last 5 or 10 years is that you can actually get a cabinet front cut to fit your appliances. We're not talking about the stove, because that would be dangerous, but that means that there's literally a piece of like a cabinet door that fits the front of your refrigerator, like where the doors are, and the same with your dishwasher. And so it creates this really kind of crazy seamless look. The doors are more expensive than just using the kind of film that goes onto an appliance. But yeah, you don't have to be stuck with the color that you have. In my article, we have 2 specific places that have these. The skins are magnets. So it's almost like, really imagine if you put like a giant magnet on your refrigerator. So it's worth checking out, because if you really hate the color of your fridge or something, they're about $100 per appliance. I haven't seen them in person, so this is more my recommendation to check it out than to absolutely use them. But they sound intriguing. They might really do the trick, especially if you just want something to look better for in the short term.
Those 2 companies are kudumagnets.com, Kudu magnets, and bestapplianceskins.com. Bottom line, if you're going to use a contractor to do the work for you, you've got to make sure you shop around to get quality work at a fair price. Yeah,
we just, time after time, no matter what we shop for, we find just a great range of prices. So ask at least 3 contractors and check out checkbook.org to figure out who they might be.
And the same thing if you're buying appliances. Don't assume everybody sells the stuff at the same price and that you're going to get the best price at a big box store. Again, our undercover shoppers found that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, always shop around.
All right, so we've refreshed the kitchen, and now it's time to update the bathroom. We're going to head there with Jen next. I'm Herb Weisbaum, the Consumer Man, and this is Consumerpedia, powered by checkbook.org.
Consumerpedia Fast Facts. Most homes in the U.S. were built before 1980 and in need of upgrades and remodeling. And since most people prefer to fix up the house they're in rather than sell or move, renovations are becoming more popular. Homeowners in the U.S. spent $566 billion on home improvement projects in 2022, according to the website Statista. The bulk of these projects were designed to make the homes more comfortable, upgrade air conditioning and heating systems, waterproof roofs and basements, soundproof rooms, add more space, and boost energy savings. As technology becomes less expensive and more reliable, smart home upgrades are becoming more popular, such as integrated and interconnected devices that automate various functions around the home.
You probably spend a lot of time in the bathroom each day. I know I do, so maybe that space needs a little redo. Jen has some things to consider there. Jen, let's start with the tub.
Yeah, well, you can either replace your tub, and particularly if you're not getting one of those fancy freestanding slipper tubs, it's not very much money to do a drop-in replacement if you have a tub that's just kind of in the wall. You can also install a new one for a bit more if you're replacing the tile and things like that. But the cheapest option, especially if you have a good tub, like I live in a 1920s house and I had my old cast iron tub refinished a few years back. And what happens then is they come in, they strip the enamel, and they apply several coats of epoxy and polyurethane. And it took it from being a tub that kind of looked like The Shining to it's nice and shiny and beautiful. So that's something I don't think a lot of people know you can do that, but it's easy, and it smells bad for a couple days. But other than that, I thought it was a really good thing to do.
When we redid our bathroom, we took the tub out. It was new. It was beautiful. It took up all the space. We never took a bath. We always took a shower. We said, let's lose it. We took it out. We have all this extra space in the bathroom. We have a little chair, some plants on a plant stand. So that's an option too.
Yeah, no, that's an option. But some people, it was funny. I interviewed an interior designer years ago, and she said some people are just tubbies. And I was like, that's me.
Okay. And then there are the sink or the sinks that have to be dealt with.
You could replace your sink with another freestanding sink, or you could replace it with one in a cabinet, and it's usually going to be much less than redoing the whole bathroom.
And there are so many colors and so many styles. And if the sink is good, you could just replace all the hardware and make it look fresh as well, the new faucet and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's a really easy update, I think, in any bathroom is you're like, well, I don't love my bathroom, but what I really hate is the fixtures. They're from the 80s or something, and then just replace them with more contemporary or more classic looking ones. And that can cost anywhere from $50 on up. And while some of that needs to be done by a plumber, some of it, if you're switching out the towel bar, then I think I could do that. Sometimes if you measure right, you'll find something that actually mounts on the old mounting hardware. That has once or twice happened to me.
So repainting the walls is a great way to refresh any room, especially the bathroom. Most small indoor painting projects are easy DIY jobs, except, as I said, for people like me. Less drips and less spills because I hire someone. Any thoughts about how you do the walls?
Well, you need to use at least a satin finish so it stands up to steam or moisture. I have wallpaper in my powder room. It's probably not something you want to put in a heavy duty, like, you're bathing the kids and the dog, but you can put wallpaper in a powder room or a bathroom. Some of them are commercial grade and they have a high vinyl content, but they don't look like your grandmother's vinyl content wallpaper. So a lot of people do it now. Wallpaper is funny. It's either a love it or hate it, but a lot of people love it again now. But if it's in a bathroom, it's kind of contained. It's not your whole house. It's a little pop of interest, not your whole downstairs.
In your story, you suggested a mural or stencil. That's kind of fun.
Yeah. And I went on a house tour the other day of this really beautiful property. And yeah, they had a mural of mountains. And that is not always less expensive than wallpaper to have something painted, but it often is. It's surprising. You're not getting wallpaper because you want a bargain. It's not cheap.
Well, as with other rooms, you can replace the lighting fixtures for function or aesthetics.
You can. The only thing is in the bathroom is you really have to be concerned that it's UL rated for damp locations. So you want a light rated for bathrooms. It's the same rating for bathrooms as outdoors, although I don't think those light fixtures are by any means interchangeable. But yeah, you just want it to be safe and keep working.
How about replacing and possibly changing the floor covering?
And that's something that you'll probably do with a contractor, and you'll probably use our ratings again to get a good one. It's a big job, but it really changes the look of a place. It's like rip that tile up and put new tile down, and it's essentially a new bathroom.
So you might want to replace the entire toilet or maybe just the toilet seat. Talk about that if you would.
If you are taking the floor up and retiling, then that is a great opportunity to replace the toilet. And there are more options now. They can be sleeker. You can get the ones that have all the bells and whistles, like the heater and the washlet, which is the polite word for a bidet. But they have covers, like toilet seat covers, that come with their own bidet. And all you have to do is plug that into electricity and hook that into your plumbing line. And then you have a fancy toilet like they have in Japan or Korea.
Here's a herb tip. If you're replacing the toilet seat, the lid, get one of the ones that's on hydraulics and lets itself down slowly. So if you go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, as I don't know, sometimes older gentlemen do, you don't wake up the whole family and scare everybody when the toilet seat slams down.
That's a good one.
It's a true one, too. Trust me, it makes for a better marriage. And finally, a few simple and low-cost projects. You can change the towel bars or the toilet paper holder and hooks. Again, there's a whole lot of designer kind of things that can just spiff up the room.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's been a trend both kind of in bathroom design and even hotel design toward hooks, not bars. It's funny, I did that in my own bathroom, and you get so much more stuff on hooks. So instead of having one towel bar in the back of the door, we have 3 hooks, and I mean, we hang so much stuff there. It's great. So that, and it's also easy to do. Or you can just change out that old frumpy towel bar for a new one. I have one that's actually made of lucite that's really cool. So you can do that, and that's easy.
And if you don't like any of these ideas, just sell the house and get a brand new one that has everything you want. There's another way to go. So
I mean, yeah, that is true.
Well, we covered a lot of ground in this episode. All of this information is in Jen's checkbook story. You'll find a link in the show notes. Jen, take care, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thanks so much. A pleasure.
Before we go, a few other Consumerpedia episodes you might want to check out. Our very first one on how to hire a contractor. Number 47, Guide to Buying New Windows. And number 51, How to Hire a Reliable Roofer. Well, that's it for this edition of Consumerpedia. We hope you'll rate the episode and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Remember, we release new episodes every other Thursday. Another way you can support this show is to follow us on Consumerpedia on Facebook and Instagram, and at My Consumerpedia on X, formerly Twitter. I'm Herb Weisbaum. Thank you for listening.
Consumerpedia is a public service of checkbook.org. We're a unique nonprofit that helps you save money and make smarter choices. You can count on Checkbook to help you find the best services and avoid the worst, with local ratings that are accurate and unbiased. If you live in or around these 7 cities and haven't joined Checkbook yet, check us out. Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, Seattle, San Francisco, Minneapolis-St. Paul, and Washington, D.C. To get your free 30-day subscription, go to checkbook.org/Consumerpedia. If you like what you've heard, we hope you'll become a supporter by using the link at the bottom of the show notes to make a small contribution each month. Consumerpedia, empowering consumers to save money and make smarter choices.